Good morning, Emily. Well, it's time to put your Spartan back together. And I thought you might enjoy watching it done. Let's see. Let's take a look at the hand wheel first of all. I had to do a little bit of touch up on it yesterday. Okay, to start with, we're going to put a couple of drops of oil on the end of the shaft before we put the hand wheel on. Oops. And give it a little spin to spread the oil. And let's see, I'm saving some of these pieces that I made to mask some of the holes here. Because I have an old Singer 15, what is it, 88? Anyway, an old class, one of the very first class 15 machines that I'm going to re-shellac because I happen to have succeeded in, all right, there they are. I succeeded in wiping off the old shriveled shellac. Remember how the shellac was shriveled on this machine? Okay, so, and I think I'll just be able to re-shellac it. Anyway, back to your Spartan. So the hand wheel's on. Next is the little teddy bear washer. It's got two ears and a nose. And there's a reason for that, but I may tell you, may not, depending on whether it comes up. So there are also two tabs on the inside that line up with the cutouts on the end of the shaft. I usually put a little drop of oil on the threads of on the threads of the clutch knob, and then trying not to knock off the stop washer on the back there. Spread it out. If you're having trouble getting this knob on without knocking that washer off, if you tip it up like this a little bit, the washer will stay on while you thread the knob on. Let's see. Now here's the test. There's two ways that washer can go on, this way or that way, 180 degrees apart. And if the screw hits the stop before you tighten it down, nope, this one's good. Okay, but if you happen to have that washer on 180 degrees out, when you go to screw your stop screw down, if it hits one of the tabs of the washer, you have to take that knob off and turn that washer 180 degrees and put it back on, and then it'll be lined up right. Okay, all right. Blah, blah, blah. And let's see. This is your bobbin race. That's going to go on next. So I'll put a drop of oil in the hole where it's going to go, and I'm also going to put a drop of oil on the shaft. Spin it a couple times to work the oil in. Here's that little fuzzy piece of felt you like first time I did one of these, I thought that that was old fuzz from the, oops, I'm going to want that. Surprising how far these things will boing. Here we go. Thread cutter from the presser bar shaft. Anyway, first time I saw one of these, I thought it was balled up lint, and I pulled it out of there. Anyway, okay, this piece here is it's the keeper that keeps the your bobbin race from moving back and forth while you're sewing, so that the bobbin can spin, but the bobbin race doesn't spin. So this piece goes in next, right next to it, and again, a little drop of oil on the shaft where you put it in. And you have to get this right because, oh, is it down all the way? I guess it is. Okay, because one side goes pull this out for a minute. Maybe this goes in first. Maybe I'm doing that wrong. I suspect that they have to go in together. Because this piece here, and I know it's got a name that I don't know. The piece that has the bobbin lifter built into it, it's got a little shaft here that goes into a hole, and it's got a little finger here that goes into this slot right here by the spring for this slide plate. And I'm going to put that in the hole and put that in the slot, but I suspect that I'm going to have to put them in together. You know, I've done this a lot of times. Don't ask me why. I have to think it through this time. Okay, that's where it's got to go. Okay, I'm going to put it inside the bobbin race before I put it in there. I know that I've taken this piece out without taking out the hook and bobbin race. So something is going on here. That's the problem. There we go. The hook was not all the way down. Okay, now I can put this piece in. Oh, I see. Duh. Okay, the legs here are not long enough to accommodate that, so I'm going to put something below the legs so that shaft doesn't get pushed up. Okay, so that goes down. I'll turn the bobbin race so that I can get this in here. And I'm going to put a little oil on that wiper, the red felt wiper. That's what it's for, is to oil the hook. Okay, now into the hole with you. And that finger is lined up in the slot. And I need to put the what? I thought that I had cleaned all these pieces, but they don't look very clean. So, no. Dang it. Okay, I have gotten ahead of myself, and I'm going to step back and clean parts, and then get back to the assembly. But I'll show you quickly how I clean parts. I have a small tank that I bought from Harbor Freight 20 some years ago. So workbench top tank, and because this is fresh paint and I don't want to get any drips of alcohol on it, I'm going to move it away into the depths of the shop a little ways. And let's see, here's a couple more parts that don't need to go in the tank. Okay, so this piece as well I better put away. Here is the little desktop parts washer tank, and I don't think that Harbor Freight even carries that part anymore, although back where you are they might. But I'm sure you can find something similar online, or even just use an old Tupperware bucket and a screen, like a strainer, something with small holes that parts can't get through, but you can dip it in the alcohol and clean your parts. So this is about a third full of 99%. Maybe it's 90%, I don't remember now. Anyway, the highest test alcohol you can find. And generally for dried on oil and dirt, they don't really have to soak. Just put them in there and get some alcohol on them, let them sit for a minute. Gloves. I wear, again, Harbor Freight. I wear their heavy-duty nitrile gloves. You can get them in various sizes. Find the ones that fit your hands. But these are resistant to most of the very few chemicals that I use. When I use some of the paint thinners and strippers and stuff, I definitely use these. And the alcohol dries my hands out, so I wear these when I clean parts. This vintage brush, I think, has natural bristles, probably hog bristles. I've had to re-glue them in a couple of times, but it still works. Best brush I found. You can find lots of parts cleaning brushes. If you find one of these old vintage ones, it's even better. It's also got a reservoir that you're supposed to be able to fill it up with whatever you're using for parts cleaner, and then you push the button and it releases a little bit into the brushes. This one, like I said, it's old. It doesn't hold the alcohol, so I don't use that part. I don't need it anyway, usually. So, I just take one of the parts that's already wet with the alcohol, soak it for a minute. I brush off as much of it as I can. Occasionally, I'll use a piece of fine steel wool, like the 4/0 steel wool, for stubborn stuff. Then I set them aside to dry, and if they're still not looking really clean, then I use my Dremel tool after they're dry usually. I use my Dremel tool to polish off anything that didn't come off in the wash. So that's it. That's how I clean parts, for the most part. And this video will continue after I get the parts cleaned, and it should coincide with you working on your Spartan there. So maybe it'll give you a few tips and pointers. All right, talk to you later, Emily. Bye-bye.